And now we get a chance to talk about what the big topic around every person's mind is, which is really the post-digital shift, how we actually use precision decisions to create brand new business models. And this really starts with a quote here that's so important. The data is the foundation of every single digital business, and your future requires not just getting precision decisions in place, it's gotta be rapid enablement of those precision decisions if you want to be successful. Now, why is this so hard? Because data's sitting around everywhere. This should be easy. We put it into a database, put it into a data warehouse, we'll put it in a data mart, we'll put it into the cloud. It's hard for a couple of reasons. One, there's a number of data sources that are out there. This massive number of data sources makes it very complicated to bring everything together, right? You could be pulling from the mainframe. You could be pulling from the cloud. You could be pulling from a transactional system. You could be pulling from almost anywhere, outside sources, which we'll talk about in number 3. The second thing is our environments are very complicated in terms of data environments. A lot of things are potentially sitting in silos that have never been accessed. People are very secure about where that data is. People don't necessarily want that data to be commingled or connected. And then of course, there's the external data sources. Well, what do you mean external data sources? Everything is perfect in our data. We have it nice and neat inside our organization. Yeah, but what about the weather? Yeah, what about social media and information? Yeah, what about all these different data feeds that you got to pull in that are from external sources, partners, suppliers, other customers, their feedback? Yeah, so there's a lot of things happening. And then of course, a lot of folks are running really old database and data warehouses, and that's great. It did the job in the transactional era, but we're in a different era. We've gone from transactions to experiences to engagement to personalization to moving data at, we're going from like real time to right time to being anticipatory. Now that's very, very hard to do. And then of course, the last piece is what we're talking about here. The speed required for data decisions is very different than what we were doing in the past. Now, we've talked about data in the past. There's tons of data everywhere. We know that. However, that last piece is very critical. That last piece, 70% of your mission critical data will be coming outside of your 4 walls. Think about that. That is incredible. Most of the data is going to be sitting outside as we think about this concept of data to decisions. Now, what's data decisions? Well, we start with all types of data, structured, unstructured, semi-structured, and we take that data and we bring it in. We put it all together. And then what we do is we align it to business processes, order to cash, incident to resolution, hire, retire, right? If you think about all these are very important business process flows. Take the data, align it to an information flow, which is a business process, and that begins that first part of the journey. Now, everything underneath that line is what IT traditionally did. Everything above that line is what business wants to do with the data. And what business wants to do is study those patterns and derive insights. They want to find patterns. They want to take those patterns, and then they want to make that and determine decisions and actions off of it and get to that next best action, and not do it like once a week in batch, not once a day, not even once an hour. We're talking about milliseconds. And we do this all the time in a secure sense and respond fashion, and we continue that cycle over and over. This is how we get to that ability to go from big data context to improve analytical insight so we can get to better decisions. So what's important? How do we get there? Why is this going to be helping us get there to be successful? Well, there are a couple business scenarios we have to think about. The first one is we're trying to ask complicated questions. And these complicated business questions are not like, let's do some counting and figure out how much inventory we have, or let's figure out how much money is in the bank. We're talking about breaking barriers, ripping through functional fiefdoms, right? So do I hire 10 more FTEs in marketing, or do I run the $1 million Super Bowl ad? Which one is going to generate more lift? We're starting to do scenario planning, especially given where we are today. Do I produce all 10,000 SKUs, or do we take the top 20% of the SKUs in manufacturing and in inventory management and supply chain? Well, wait, maybe we also want to look at the top 20%, the highest profitable SKUs with the highest volume, match those two together and think about a supply chain and operations plan. And so we can start figuring out demand planning, forecasting. What do I do with my cash, right? Do I take my cash and do I run the Forex against it? Do I ask my suppliers to pay earlier and give them a discount? Do I need to maintain my treasury in a different way? Or do I let it run and I'll pay everyone a day later, I'll collect a day earlier, and what does that do to my cash balance and cash on hand? So the questions we're asking today aren't simple analytical reporting questions. The questions we're asking today cuts across business processes, cuts across departments, and this is why we have to be able to support that. The second piece that's becoming more and more important is we keep talking about AI and machine learning. And what do we have to do? Well, ultimately, it's like a choose your own adventure book. I don't remember if you guys remember these books. They were awesome, right? It was always about getting to the next best action. You get to the bottom of the book, you had a couple options to choose, and then that would take you into another storyline. Well, today, in the world of AI and ML and the way we use our data, every decision that's made, we have context, we have attribution, we know which process you're in, we knew the time of day, we knew the calendar period that you're in, we knew what customers you were working for. I mean, we can get it down to your heart rate and how fast you're blinking, right? And taking that allows us to determine the next best action, make suggestions, and in that process, even do A/B testing. Why did 10 purchasing managers reply in a certain manner? Right? Or why did 1,000 customers react in a certain way? Or what features are being used? Or why are they not being used? Which products or services aren't being touched upon, even though we might have spent millions of dollars developing them? And that's what we can get to, is these feedback loops over time with next best action. And this brings us to mass personalization at scale. The ability to take the context of where we are, the choices that are available to allow us to personalize and deliver the experiences, whether you're a customer, whether you're a supplier, whether you're a partner, whether you're an employee, any stakeholder, to deliver that at scale. And that removes a lot of manual processes to deliver personalization over time. Now, one of the other big areas where we have business cases around here is dynamic pricing and pricing optimization. How much should I charge for something? What is the elasticity of my product? Does that change? And what are the conditions? What's the attributes? And we're trying to discover these over time based on supply and demand, based on attributes, based on actions, context. You know, one of our clients is in a large casino and they're able to figure out, you know, pricing for beer. It could be $5 on a Monday or Sunday when no one's there. It could be the Monday to Wednesday during conference season where it's $12. It could be, you know, during the weekend where the same price of beer might be $20 for a can during fight night. And that's the ability that we have. And we want to be able to make those decisions in real time. And then, of course, we got the faceless hoodie dude, and you know, how do we actually get to regulatory compliance, security, and all that kind of fun stuff? And when we think about regulatory compliance, this is one of the biggest use cases. Think about the fine when you break a privacy regulation. It's 2 to 3% of revenue, not profits. It's 2 to 3% of revenue if you break GDPR. Compliance is costly, and our ability to actually prevent compliance issues from occurring is significant. That's what we need to be able to do. We need to do it not reactively. We need to be able to do it proactively. We also need to prevent hackers and mitigate risk, right? And we got to mitigate fraud. We got to mitigate all these other potential liabilities in real time, whether you're a financial services institute, a government, an educational institution, right? The idea is to make sure you can anticipate that risk beforehand, especially when you're dealing with a lot of customers, when you're doing a lot of human issues, human life issues. You want to make sure that that risk is mitigated. Long time ago, famous cell phone manufacturer had a phone that was banned in the airports, right? It was an 8-week recall that cost them $8 billion, 147 phones. Think about that. That is 8 sigma in quality and output. 8 sigma in quality took out $8 billion over 8 weeks. What the heck? And now if I could actually go from 8 weeks to 1 week, it would have been $1 billion fine. If I go from 1 week to 1 day, it would be $100 million lost, not a fine, but lost revenue. What's $1 million for software to take out $100 million to $8 billion risk to prevent that from happening? That's what we want to get to. That's what we want to build, mitigate those types of big risk disasters ahead of time. Okay, so what does it take to be successful? What do we need to make this work? Well, one of the important elements is speed. speed. We've got to get quickly to this information. We've got to be able to access this. We're not talking about a 1 month setup. We're not talking about, 1 month to actually get data right. We're talking about going from a month to a week to a day to hours to seconds to be able to access the data, process that data, understand what it's doing, and feed our downstream systems. And that means a very, very different type of approach. The second part is it can't be hard to use, right? You have to design these systems so that anyone from a full onslaught of an expert DBA and data master, to the business user that wants to connect different parts of the organization together. They don't want to be building cubes. They want to be able to do this in drag and drop. They want to be able to take the models and run. They want to ask business questions. They want to collaborate. They want to share. They want to build those reports, and they want to all do it on the same data, not like 100 different Excel spreadsheets. My macro is better than your macro. Crap, we're all in the same company. Come on. We got to use the same data from the same source. And then, of course, business and industry ready is important. Having the ability to actually use that in a way that talks the language of each industry. Here you're looking at a manufacturing plant. This is where a Boeing, twin engine, narrow body aircraft come out the door. You have passengers. It's not customers, it's not clients, right? It's passengers. And I think it's important to understand that. And it's not just the language. Discrete manufacturing is different from process manufacturing. Banking and financial services could be consumer to wealth management to property and casualty for insurance versus auto and life, right? Each of the clients actually have to be able to do that. And then, of course, we want things contextually relevant. Actually, I've always wanted to use these Easter Island ads. I don't know why. The question is, why are they here, right? What's the contextual relevancy is the question that you should be thinking about. And that's thinking about time, location, weather. We're talking about sentiment, business process, transactions in the past. Bringing that metadata together to drive better contextual relevancy allows us to deliver not just in right time, but also to be predictive over time, to create anticipatory analytics, to get us to a state where we can become more cognitive. And then, of course, you want to work on systems that have flexible architecture. Those are Duplos, if you're asking and kind of curious. Those Duplos are great. You can use them, build those building blocks in many ways so people can actually extend their applications. They can extend the way they're asking the questions. They can deliver these in different form factors. And of course, consume it in different applications. And then, of course, we do have to worry about building this with high degrees of security, high degrees of encryption, because access to data and how data is being secured is very important. It's driving a lot of the conversations. In fact, security and cybersecurity has always been the #1 priority for CIOs, for boards, and for, of course, the CEOs and the executive leadership team. So once we have that in place, I want to give you some examples of what some of these cool business models are. We talked a little bit about, why this is so important. We talked a little about the business scenarios that are there. I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think was the hottest performing stock since 2010? I'm going to throw some names up here. I want you to yell back. Don't yell too loud if there's got someone else in the room and you're on a different call. But I want you to yell back. What do you think was the top one? Was it Apple? Was it Netflix? I mean, you see me all the time on Fox Business, CNBC, Yahoo Finance, Cheddar talking about big tech stocks. Which one of these were the highest performing stocks since 2010 from a performance perspective? And Zoom's not on here, but Zoom probably wasn't around since 2010. So we're going to take that out of there just in case you're saying Zoom. Are you guys ready? I'm going to do a countdown. 3, 2, 1. Are you ready? Domino's Pizza. For some of those who knew this, you probably were like, okay, I've been following this for a while. I was looking at the stock when it was $3 in 2008. Domino's DPZ is a hot performing stock, outperforming some of these players since 2010. Now think about that. How did they do it? They did it with data. They did it with awesome data. They completely digitized their entire operating model. Think about it. 5 p.m. on a Friday, if you have the Domino's app, who's got the Domino's app? If you got the Domino's app, you basically get an alert that says, would you like a pizza? And suddenly that alerts triggers a whole bunch of other actions on the back end. You say, yes, supply chains are being routed. People are understanding orders. The order's being taken inside the shop. The shop gets the order. It's queued in. They're telling you exactly how long the pizza is going to take. They give me a complete status on the order all the way down from it's in the oven. It's coming out of the oven. It's 5 minutes away. They're at your doorstep. Payment is done contactless, complete tracking. And even better, You can take a picture of the pizza, send it back to Domino's, and they can tell you the quality of that pizza. We're talking massive amounts of data used from anything in supply chain to customer experience. And boom, the feedback form comes back and says, hey, how'd you like this puppy? That's what we're talking about. We want to be able to do this. You want to be able to hit this all the time. I'll give you another example. How many people out here actually fill out the registration card for their toaster? Raise your hands. Now, when we do this in an audience of 10,000, I'm lucky to find 10 people to raise their hands and say, I actually fill out the warranty card, right? It's kind of stupid. You're like, why would I fill out the warranty card? You know, it takes so much effort and it's only like a $20 or $40 toaster. Why would I do that? Okay, so maybe you fill out the warranty or registration card for your TV. Anyone? Maybe, right? Big screen TV. All right, I don't know. But here's my point. Can you imagine what it's like, that first phone call that a customer places to the contact center, to the manufacturer of this toaster or TV set? It is horrible. It's 30 minutes of, sir, where did you buy this? Ma'am, what's the model of the toaster? Can you find the serial number? And they're on the other end. Why do you think they call? Because it's either broken or they don't know how to use this thing. And they're so mad on this call. You're at negative NPS before the call even happened. And then you're even worse after the call. And you even got to find out, do we even sell them the toaster? Is it even ours? This is the funniest thing that can happen. And so on a $20 toaster, you've wasted $5 of margin. $5 wiped out the door on this awful call. But there's really no good value exchange for you to make that call. So I have to change the equation. So imagine if I asked it this way to you. If I told you, just connect the appliance, the TV or the toaster to the internet. All we need is like a phone number and you can give me a junk email address, just something. And what we're gonna do is when you connect it, we will monitor the toaster for the entire life of the toaster. We'll tell you when a defect occurs. We'll tell you 90 days before the toaster is about to die that it's going to die. We'll even make you an offer to replace the same toaster at the same price 90 days later. And now we assume these toasters are going to last 8 to 10 years. So 10 years from now, you might get an offer for the same amount you paid or less. Are you in? Would you take that deal? A lot of people would. And in fact, if they did take that deal, we could start doing some stuff. We could track performance on the toaster, right? IoT hits. This is an IoT example. I haven't figured it out. Like which parts broke? Why did they break more? What's going on? Why do toasters in Denver last more than toasters in Houston? Anybody know? Anybody know? Anybody know? Humidity. Why do toasters in New York break more than toasters in, I don't know, Dallas? Anyone? 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 Bagels, not New Yorkers. Bagels, not New Yorkers, okay? So this is what's happening, right? So now we got product feedback. We got feedback loops. We can do preventative maintenance. We're now in place. And then I can even get down to the point of building a subscription business model. I'm going to give you this toaster for 15 cents a month for the next 8 years. And if anything breaks, we'll get you a brand new one in the process. So we do subscription and warranty. And guess what? I can start doing everything. I'll cover your TV. I'll end up doing your entire kitchen. We'll do your whole kitchen. Whirlpool, GE, Kenmore appliances. We'll do it for $150 a month. Washer, dryer included. Are you up for it? Sounds like a pretty good thing. If anything breaks during that period, we will replace it or fix it. We'll replace it in 48 hours. We will fix it in 24. Are you in? And I will do your HVAC too. So what did we just do? We just built a data-driven business using precision decisions because we can actually monitor and run IoT into a system. We started with customer experience monitoring. We can now do remote field service and diagnostics. We can even offer you toasts as a service in a subscription business model. And in fact, retail is over. Retail is showrooming. It is the first sale. And after that, I'm going direct to consumer. And then more importantly, I can give you the cross-sell. And I can take the entire market around appliances and electronics and even your HVAC all delivered. This is what we're trying to do in every business. This is why data is the foundation of every digital business. All right, so how do we get started? Where do we go? How do we make it? All right, well, we're talking about next gen now, so that's the whole point. Start with the business question. Ask the right questions. Don't ask the stuff you know the answer to. We do this all the time. We're like, oh, I can't ask that question. We don't have the data. Well, then you're not getting anywhere. That's the whole point. Start with the right business question. I'll give you a quick, easy example. Take any department, add it to finance. Take any department, add it to HR, and you'll have a very interesting business question, right? So, you know, one question will be, are we getting, you know, very, very good, actually, I'll start with this one. Are we paying enough in terms of our employees on benefits, retention, being able to give them the right skills, right? Are we paying at the right level to manage retention risk, right? That's a question you got to ask, because I don't know where the answers are. The question is, well, let's start with the questions we really want to ask at a business level. They cross departments, they cross processes. The second one is, then we go find the data sources. And then you're like, oh, this is not my data. It's not clean. It's not reliable. It's coming from somewhere else. Well, of course it is. That's why you have to do this. So we want to bring in external data sources into systems, and we got to do it fast. And then, of course, inside your organizations, we want to build data proficiency. Data proficiency is super important. And that data proficiency, when we think about what's going on with that data, well, we have to figure out how to describe it, how to actually visualize it, how to actually help people ask the right questions, how to bring the right types of data sources together. And it's got to happen easily. What you're looking here is a heat map. I'm really curious, what's on this upper part around like 12 o'clock? Why is that cluster, you know, like darker reddish brown than others? It's burnt sienna if you really care. But the point being is, what is that? Let's go deep. And then we connect it to the right people. Where does the information flow have to go? We've got the upstream data sources. We're bringing it to the downstream. Well, downstream, are the right people seeing that data? Are they able to make the right decisions? Are they going to be successful? And then, of course, this is my favorite slide, visualization, right? You're going to make it look cool. People can take actions against this. I mean, this command center is pretty wild. I still don't know where I pulled this from, but the point being is, I mean, I'm looking over here. I got, you know, heat maps up there. I've got global views and a mapping. I've got trend analysis, right? I've got notifications and alerts popping up. You know, we want to get the good visualization so people can take that next best action. They can consume it. They don't have to be a data scientist to consume. And more importantly, they don't have to be a data scientist to actually build. All right, real quick, we talked a lot about what's going on in this marketplace. We talked about the need for precision decisions. Let's start by, you know, simplifying everything here. 5 things to get started. This will get you going. First, build new experiences and outcomes. Think about what you're trying to accomplish here. Ask those right questions. The second part is build a digital DNA. Think about where data proficiency comes into place. Help people get enabled. Start with being able to figure out how to give people that right skills, and also choose solutions that are easier to use. So solutions that actually solve complicated problems where you don't have to go back and reinvent, you know, how you bring all that data in, how you ingest that data, how you get the models together, how you actually set it up to be able to ask the right questions. And then we can think about the new business models. Form follows function. Figure out what you're trying to accomplish, what business questions are important, what you're trying to do to create new business models, and then we can figure out the technologies that support them. And then, of course, most importantly, we are moving from gut-driven to data-driven decisions. That's very, very important. We want to test the hypotheses. We want to use that data to actually validate. And then more importantly, over time, that data is the foundation for your machine learning. It's the foundation for your AI. It's the knowledge base. It creates those next best actions. And then what we can do is co-create and co-innovate with new partners. You can't do this alone, and you want to find the right folks to get you there so that you can be successful. All right, so hey, thanks a lot very, very much. If you need to reach me, there's a way to get a hold of me. Just reference NextGen now on Aerospike as well, and if you've got any questions. But more importantly, thanks for your time today. Thanks for listening in, and have an awesome conference.